Nistuwakok Sipi Namayak. My English name is Dolly Creighton. I work with the Wellness Center, and I kind of wear many hats, but just to put it in simple terms, I work with a mental health team. My role is with community engagement and cultural support.
We're here at the Honoring Our Ancestors, practicing our Siksikates at the Itapi traditions through innovation and vision. What does that mean for you and for the team?
Well, I think it means so much. There's so much. There's a lot of words for just those words, those English words. There's so much. They say a lot. But pertaining to our program, we're really, we've identified and recognized the need, let's say, for wellness. And wellness, again, is another huge word. But if I may just say, to make it simple, if you look at the word wellness versus illness, so we're looking at wellness. To create awareness through education information sessions with groups, and this program that we're doing, this particular program, it's to I guess maybe to just focus on the fact that we believe, because we're Indigenous Siksikates Itapi Ganawa. In creating that awareness that we need to change. By change, I don't mean in a negative way, but change, I mean where we're at today, that we've kind of, a majority of our people have lost our culture, our way of life. And we need to remind them of who they are. And because of our history, of what happened to us with colonization, there was a huge interruption of our culture, of who we are as a way of life. And it confused many people. By confused, I mean today many people have lost their language. When we say we lost it, not because we wanted to, we didn't lose it, it was just through the process of colonization that our culture was interrupted, and as we all know, that was the intention of colonization, was to actually make us into someone else other than who we were, and our culture was taken away.
Yeah. So when we talk about innovation and vision, so are we talking about kind of merging or utilizing the best of both worlds here? Yes,
we have to, because these people I'm talking about, some of our people that are in that stage of confusion and mixed up in both cultures, because they have lost, they don't know anymore about their culture, who they are, and I did explain it earlier in my presentation, what a culture is. Culture means our language, our values, our beliefs, our belief systems, our philosophies, our history, our traditions, our customs, and the protocols that belong to those traditions and customs. That is what a culture is. So when we talk about our culture, our Siksikates Itapi culture, when you say innovation, we want to be innovative so that those people that have lost that, the only way they can understand is the other culture of English. Maybe let me put it this way: we're trying to share our culture, teach our culture in a foreign language. So that's the only way they can understand it, because they only understand English. So we're trying to teach our culture, and you can't teach our culture unless you use our language, because our language is our culture. Example, you use one word and you can't translate it. Our language is very, very descriptive. So when you can't translate it, so just to talk about one Blackfoot word, to explain it into what it means in English, you're almost talking about our whole culture. So that one word could be talking about who we are, what that word means, where it came from, what we believe in, our values, and our whole culture. So to be innovative is trying to, again, like I say, is interpreting our language, our way of culture into English. A teacher of mine once told me, Dolly, if you're going to teach our culture, teach it in a good way. Teach our culture Siksikaitsitapi. You don't need to borrow from any other culture. This is who we are. But he said, but unfortunately, you have to teach it in a foreign language. So we have to transfer that knowledge, those stories, to our English, of our people that only understand English. So that's what innovation means, to be innovative, like you said, to use both cultures to try and transfer information about our culture. It's very challenging.
So when we talk about purpose, what do you hope to achieve from a conference like this?
Okay, so the purpose is, of course, we explain our purpose is what you just said. It's honoring our knowledge keepers, and I guess sharing that information by creating awareness and utilizing their information and what they know, the information, their stories, and all their knowledge. So our purpose is to do that, to begin to create that awareness. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do to find our identity, to find out who we are. This is our purpose. And we find that what we're focusing on in any program that we have in Wellness Center, we're trying to make that the focus of all that in wellness is who we are as Siksikaitsitapi. And you'll find that in our culture, that is healing, that is who we are, it is everything. And if we could just know that, we'll begin to find our answers of who we are, we'll find our answers of our challenges in the lifestyle we're living today, whatever it may be, if it's substance use, if it's other mental health issues, anything that has to do with wellness versus illness. So we've identified that that's the need, because people are searching. I did some research, and I do a lot of research, and I found many of these people, intellectuals, and some of them are indigenous people with, and they said that people that are having difficulties or are challenged with their identity have difficulty with academics. So I could really relate to that. You go back to when I went to school, and these English-speaking people trying to teach me a different culture. I had difficulty. First of all, they were trying to teach me their language, and then their beliefs, and then their traditions, their customs, and then their academics of the 3 R's. You have difficulty. But what happened then, it wasn't because they said, oh, okay, you're a slow learner, you're stupid. We were labeled as being stupid because we couldn't learn this. In today's mainstream society, I even saw that in non-Indigenous schools, they will put them into alternate schools or into a slow learning group. They don't realize that this is what's happening to a lot of our young people. These young people don't know themselves that they're having trouble with identity issues. So that's a fact that research says that. Even today you see that. And they have difficulty. But to me, my own beliefs is when you speak 2 languages, you're almost like using 2 parts of your brain. Your left brain, your right brain. Let's call it that for the sake of explanation. So when I'm going to speak Blackfoot, I think in Black. I have to think in that way and I'll speak in Black. When I'm going to speak English, I shift and I think in English. So I communicate in that way. So I shift, I go back and forth. And I guess that's, to me, when people can do that, when people can speak two languages, they're pretty darn intelligent.
And so, of course, when we don't understand that, there's cultural confusion.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the conference, and it's geared towards the day treatment program. Yeah. And speaking of innovation, the program just received an innovation award from the Council of the Federation of Premiers across Canada. Tell us a bit about the program itself, the day treatment program, and what are some of the hallmarks that makes it successful and award-winning?
Well, since our mandate is wellness, which covers many things, mental health. Substance use is a mental health issue. Many things, depression is a mental health issue. All these things are mental health issues. And when we're dealing with substance use, we don't like to label our clients and call them addicts or alcoholics. We're labeling them. So we call it substance use. So we've identified that need, that is what is needed. People need that because they're affected by that lifestyle. So in just looking at that, we identified that some of these people, they don't know that they need to change. They don't know that because that's all they know. And then they start having issues, more issues of mental health issues, emotionally, physically. So they know that there's something wrong here, there's something going on, something is not right. So when it really starts to affect them physically, they're sick in the hospital, or they've hit bottom and their whole life has fallen apart. Their families, their homes, their jobs, everything. And right now, all they have is, if they're really addicted to what they use, when they get up in the morning, their priority is, I need a fix. Where am I going to get my fix? How am I going to get my fix? And nothing else matters. That's substance use. Before, for us that are well, our priority is the roof over my head and food on the table, my children, my family, routine, structure. That's our priority. But to them, that's all gone. That's not priority. So we're looking at that as, again, they're in this lifestyle that they need help because they can't do it alone. Some of them are at that process where they can partly realize, yes, I have to stop this lifestyle, but I don't know how. I don't know what to do. They have no place to reach out to because they don't know. So we reach out to them. And for some of them may be so addicted that they need medical care. But once they get to that point of where they can start to think, in helping them, of course, some services will say they need to go to treatment. Well, we identified the need that a lot of them, somebody said they need treatment, but we believe that maybe not at this point they don't need treatment. They need something more before they can comprehend what's in this 30-day, 60-day, 90-day treatment program. They're not at that level mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually in our culture. So they need something to just get them started. So we started the day treatment program for those people that are unable or can't or don't want to or not ready to go to treatment in a residential treatment program for whatever reason. It might be because they haven't decided or they haven't identified the need that they need to go, something like that, in order to change. Or maybe they can't go because of their family, or maybe because they work, or maybe other situations. But they know that they need treatment, but they're unable to go to residential treatment. So we said, well, how about we start offering this service, let's call it a day treatment program, where they can come and we can provide them this information, we can create awareness, we can share information with them so that they can make decisions. And may hopefully our goal is that someday they'll say, you know what, I'm ready to go to treatment. And they will go. And those are successes. We have many of those clients of ours that have said, okay, now I think I'm ready to go for treatment. They'll see one of their therapists who's been working with them, and they'll say, make arrangements for me, I'll go for treatment. That's one of our successes. The other ones that can't go for treatment, where they're learning every day, and they're shifting, they're changing. And a lot of them are on we call it their journey of sobriety. You know, and our first only criteria to participate in our program is that abstinence, no use. You're not using, you can't come. If you're going to come, you can't be using for 48 hours at least. Then you can come. So they start to learn what structure is, what routine is, and what's acceptable. You can't use if you want to come. And they want to come. So some of them might relapse. But they know they've been to the day treatment program, they really like it, and they want to come back, so that helps them to start to abstain. Okay, I'm not going to use for at least 2 days, so I can go back because it's doing something for me. Those are our successes. So in the program, we provide many information, creating awareness. And we've come to identify that this identity of who we are is the foundation of their decision to change their lifestyle. So we have an elder that comes in our every day at the day program and spends an hour with them. So to me, those are the types of other information is all of our team. They come in and each of them come in and do a presentation in whatever. And Hassan, who is our medical doctor, psychiatrist, and addiction specialist, he comes in and he explains it from that point of view, what it does to the brain, what drugs does to the brain. All of us have our special information that we go in and we share. So they're learning. So yeah, so I don't know, just being innovative and meeting their needs. And they evaluate, they have evaluations, and they put comments. So we look at those and they tell us, this is what we need. This is what we need to do. This, maybe they make changes, or they need more of this or less of this. And so, yeah.
So it's really about creating connections so they can start to understand who they are, where they are, and why they are.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about your presentation today. Mm-hmm. You focused in on gender roles and so on and so forth. So how does that play a part in the road to recovery, the journey?
Well, when Terry was the one that did this proposal, identified this need, because people that live that lifestyle or have that preference, they do exist, you know, with our people. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to see how did that relate to our culture, our history. Because we were able to see that some of our clients they have gender preferences, and some of them are maybe they don't want to publicly admit, or I shouldn't say admit, they don't want to talk about it, like Rose said, and we could see that, but we don't want. It's not our business to tell them, hey, you know, you're gay or you're whatever. We just accept them. So we wanted to bring in. How does that relate to our culture? Well, in our culture, I've spoken to some elders, and I've asked them this question. And they said, and this is what I wanted them to talk about today, but we didn't get that opportunity. And the information they gave me was like, you know what? Our ancestors in our way of life, they did exist. But you know what? We didn't discriminate on them. We didn't see them differently. We didn't treat them differently. They were just part of our our families, our clans, our community, but they had a special role. They were human beings. So I guess this is another thing that part of their creating awareness with this group is that they don't know this because they've been with mainstream society of this other culture of those attitudes and those beliefs. And this is what they're struggling with. This other culture has their own beliefs, their own values, their own, and a lot of it is peers. So that's what they're going by. Instead of with our culture, with our way of life, they don't know this, and hopefully in this initiative, they'll begin to understand that and see that. Because we're trying to teach them about who they are in their culture. This is part of it. This is another information.
So is that why it was important to include
yes.
the roles of gender in this conference?
Mm-hmm. And even many of the people that have that preference, even them, some of them, they've lost their identity as Indigenous people. Not gender-wise, but as Indigenous people. And sometimes it helps them to step forward and feel comfortable and not feel so ostracized because of this lifestyle that they have.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the highlights that you heard today from the elders that would resonate with many of the clients here? Can you share some of those maybe stories or some of the messaging?
Well, as you might have picked up, none of them really made a big issue about gender, because that's who we are. And they just wanted to share information and knowledge about. It's very basic what they shared. And like I said, when someone tells a story, they don't tell you, okay, this is the point of my story, and this is what I want you to learn. That's not how our storytelling works. So when I listen to a knowledge keeper, when I listen to their stories, even their personal life experiences, I pick something out of that will help me, even for information that I can relate to. And that's how we are. That's what storytelling is about. So you and I might be listening to the same story, and you'll walk away with a different learning, a different teaching, and I'll walk away with something else. And we may sit down and compare, and I'll say, what did you get out of it? You might say something totally different from mine. And that's just the uniqueness and beauty of our storytellers. So when I was listening to them, I was trying to again, like in another culture, look at, okay, now talk about gender. But then I shifted, no, I'm just going to learn and listen to what they're saying. And to me, most of them, when they spoke about their identity. Who am I? And they shared. They've learned in their life experience, they learned that question I asked, who am I? They explained that to the point of, these are my ancestors. This is where I come from. And this is what I was taught. So even that, just that simple thing to me is important. I did a session one time with this group. It's not the same group. They change all the time. And I did what you call sort of like a genealogy. And I gave them a family tree, and I told them, okay, now fill this out. I said, this is you. Who are your parents? Who are your grandparents? And who are they? You know what? Some of them didn't go as far as after their grandparents. And that hurt me. And it really reinforced that they've lost they don't know who they are. And maybe some of them were in the system, maybe they were in foster care. So, and for us in our culture, that's very important. And as I'm growing up, I'm told, these are your relatives. These are your cousins. These are your grandparents. This is who they are. And you know all about that. And it makes you feel like, I know who I am. So you transfer that knowledge to your children. And just transferring them, when you're going to talk about my grandfather, I want to say his name was Stephen Fox. I'll talk about him, what he was like, what he taught me. So if that isn't transfer of knowledge, I don't know what is. But you ask these people that didn't even know how to, this is my mother, I think this was my mother. I don't know my grandparents. Well, it clearly shows, like, who are you? So even that tells a lot. Tells a lot.
So just in wrapping up here, did you get any feedback or comments from any of the clients, and what really struck them?
Today? Yes. Most of them came to me and they said, Dolly, really enjoyed your presentation. I told him, well, did it make sense? He said, of course it did. He said, you made everything sound simple. You gave information in a simple way from one information to the next. Really, we got it. So that's the feedback that I got. They said, most of them came to me and said, thank you. I've shared some of this information, but not like this. So yes, I got some really good feedback.
So any last comments on this honoring our ancestors and how we carry ourselves forward from today?
How do we carry ourselves forward? I guess maybe just maintaining this, like I said, and Martin really made sense when he said, like, if I don't learn this, and when all my teachers are gone, where does that leave me? I'm responsible to transfer that knowledge. And if I don't reach out and look for it and find it from my teachers, from my knowledge keepers, when my turn comes, I won't know anything. So it's pretty scary. So I'm already knowing that I have a role, I have a responsibility. It's just part of our culture. Elders have a responsibility, have a role to be teachers because they have all this knowledge. And so I'm saying, like today, like I said, I haven't totally lost my language. I still speak my language fluently, and my language describes to me all my values, my traditions, my beliefs. So I still have it. I haven't totally lost it. So when I'm saying I need to share it, I need to transfer that knowledge, because if I don't, who's going to when I'm gone? So we need students, and all of these people that are here, that's why I refer to them as students. So to me, this is what I think of. So I have a role. I have a role to learn, to reach out to my teachers, my knowledge keepers, so that I could share that and transfer it too. Because if I don't reach out and learn it, how am I going to learn to transfer it? I heard some people say, oh, I'm going over there so I could learn. Learn about what? Well, I need to learn about our culture. And I said, this is not a training session. This is not a community where you could come and learn. This is a project that we have with our select group. If you want to learn more about your culture, do it the right way. Go and reach out and find an elder, protocol, bring them tobacco, whatever, groceries or whatever, give it to them and say, a smoke. I want to ask you a question. And when you give tobacco to any old elder, that's our protocol. And they'll say, when we give them tobacco, they know, oh, we want something from me. We don't have to say, I come here to ask you a question. You just give them that tobacco, even if it's a cigarette, right away they'll know that's the protocol. Okay, she wants something. Don't say, okay, what are you trying to stop you? So that's the proper way. You don't just go to something like this and say, I'm going to learn, because sit there and you take notes. There's a proper way. That's our way of life. I mean, that's the only way I'm learning. is to reach out and go to these knowledge keepers and say, there's something I want to ask you, or whatever, and I'll get it. So to me, that's our role as individuals to do that. But we know in this program that they don't know how to do this, but they're learning, they're learning, they're learning. As a matter of fact, we went outside during a break at our office, and one of them came to me and gave me a cigarette. And I thought, oh, but in our class, I said, oh, okay, thank you. I said, trying to stop you. I had one question, a very simple question. So I figured, oh, I told him, I'm so glad that you're learning. So these are just the simple ways in our culture, in our tradition, that in the Wellness Center, we've identified the need for this. This is the foundation of wellness with us, six gates, to know who we are.